I want to start with Andrew Wiggins, right? And I want to give him some credit, and I want to give the Warriors as a franchise some credit for how they, first of all, Wiggins himself, the way he's played over these last 7, 8, even more like 15 games, but going back to the Warriors' decision at the trade deadline not to move Wiggs when they could have easily just cut ties and moved on from him, and they ultimately chose to hold firm, not to do that. And I thought at that time it was the right decision, because I simply thought that whatever you get in return for Wiggs is not going to be of the value that he could provide for you moving forward. And that doesn't mean him necessarily getting back to being the second best player on a championship team or getting back to an all-star level player. I just mean him being, a two-way consistent presence every night. And I think that's what we've seen from him since the trade deadline and even before that. And so you look at his last 5 games here, 17 points, 10 points, 19 points, and then the last 2 here in the back-to-back, 20 points on 8 of 14 shooting against the Lakers, and another 14 on 5 of 8 shooting here against the Hornets, which 14 points is nothing spectacular, but on a night where both teams struggle mightily offensively, to shoot 5 of 8 from the floor is actually pretty impressive. So this is a really great sign of just consistent, productive Wiggs. There's no scoring explosion by any means. I mean, you look at his last 8 games here, 7 of which have come after the deadline, and that one the day before the deadline against Philly, where he played really well. If you look at these last 8 games, 15.5 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 0.9 turnovers. And that's actually, again, that doesn't necessarily stand off the page to anyone who's not a Warrior fan necessarily, but 2.4 assists, 0.9 turnovers per game in the last 8. For most of the season, Andrew Wiggins has committed more turnovers than there's flies going on in here. He's committed more turnovers than he's dished out dimes this season. For the majority. And he's only just got it back over a 1-to-1 ratio where he's got more assists than turnovers. And that's come from the last 8 games. And I think that's kind of emphasizing his recent play of being much more confident, much more assured with what he's doing, whether it's catching and passing, catching and going, trying to get to the rim, catch and shooting, whatever it may be. He just looks so much more confident, looks so much more assured, is being so much more aggressive with what he's doing. And I think regardless of the points, the rebounds, the defensive stuff, whatever it is, the fact that assist to turnover ratio is so much better, I think is really emphasizing what he's been doing recently. 1.4 steals per game as well, and then shooting 53.8% from the floor, 50% from three-point range, and 76.9% from the free throw line, which again, kind of goes under the radar because for so much of this season, and not just this season, but a lot of Wiggs' Warrior tenure, it's like he gets foul, goes to the free throw line, and it's an absolute lottery. Like, are you going to get 1 out of 2? Hopefully. That's almost what you hope for. You hope for 1 out of 2. And so the fact that he's being much more consistent and better from the free throw line is actually a big positive, because I think early in the season it might have actually impacted his aggressiveness going to the rim in a way that, obviously, as an Australian watching Ben Simmons in the limited time he's played in the last couple of years, I think his free throw shooting woes have clearly impacted his ability to try and get to the rim and finish. So I think that kind of haunted Wiggs a little bit earlier in the season, and so it's great that he's back to being aggressive Wiggs. If he gets fouled, he goes to the free throw line. He's knocking down over 3 out of every 4 at the moment, which is fantastic. So credit to him. He's back playing a winning style of basketball, which is obviously the most important thing. Playing defense, which is probably an even greater responsibility for him right now than necessarily the offensive stuff is. So that's culminating in a plus 60 total plus minus here over the last 8 games, which is such a far cry from where he was early in the season, where I think he was over minus 100 at some point. Like, he was such a net negative for most of the season up until, a couple of weeks before the All-Star break maybe. And for him to turn it around like he has, full credit to him. And he was kind of the first player I really wanted to mention here over, the Warriors' last 11 games. It's, as I said, it's nothing super explosive from a scoring output. It's just, what you're going to get from him on a nightly basis. And that's, just what the Warriors need. They don't need Wiggs to go out and score 20 plus every game. It's not what they need from him. They need him to be able to contribute in a variety of ways. And I think he's doing that really well. at the moment.